There is no shortcuts that work out. Yeah, you cannot be born good looking and lucky.
You got a point there. Hey guys, Paul Musso here from Realty Connect, and we are sitting with Stacey from Realty Connect, and very important, Mr. Rob Cartelli from Outstanding Plumbing, who is based out of St. James, New York, and much more importantly, I think you said you were from Brooklyn.
Correct. Was born and raised in Brooklyn.
My hometown.
Nice.
Thank you. So, from time to time, everybody always asks us, do we have an outstanding plumber? As a matter of fact, we have Outstanding Plumbing here. So a little bit about the company, how you got into the business, and how'd you make it out here to Long Island?
Okay, so I got into the business back in 1988. My dad, thankfully, really had like a grudge about a grown man laying horizontal while the sun's still in the air. So school wasn't my thing. One day my dad comes home. It was probably about 2:30 on a beautiful summer day, and I'm laying on the couch watching TV. He says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Watching TV." He said, "All right, great." He said, "Why don't you go outside and feel the grass under your feet?" He said, "Touch a tree, look at a cloud, because you're going to start a career tomorrow." So I met my uncle down at the train station, and we wound up going into the city, and then I became a plumber. My uncle wasn't the most pleasant guy to work with, so I really dug my teeth into the trade and broke away. And then I worked in Manhattan for a long, long time, and then I settled out here about 25 years ago, and I went into business 20 years ago.
So you worked in Manhattan, that'd be like pretty hardcore.
Yeah, I mean, it's plumbing. Pipe's a pipe. You know, whether you go 10 houses this way or 10 houses this way, it's all the same. Just laying off pipe. That's it.
Your dad was in the business too, or?
No, my dad was a longshoreman downtown Red Hook.
That's hardcore.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that's why men had to go out and work. You get up, you go out to work, or you go to school and you become a professional. And like I said, school was not my bag.
Right.
Yeah.
So now you're based out of St. James.
Yes, we're based out of St. James.
You live in Smithtown.
I do.
And predominantly, like, is there an area that you try to focus in your business?
Well, you know, like a stone hitting the water, you know, you kind of make circles from there, but we do service the entire island.
Very cool.
Right.
Cool. So we have a bunch of questions that came in from time to time, and obviously being a real estate officer that we are, we're always looking for an outstanding plumber.
Now you got one.
So we got one. We've had you, it's been, what, 10, 12, 15 years, I think?
Yeah, we're hitting that. Yeah, my son's 14, so yeah, we're there.
That's before.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of questions. If we could get some questions out to Mr. Cartelli, that'd be...
Caller number one, what's your question?
Well, number one, okay. So not something that I had thought of before, but if we need you, how quickly can we grab you if we have an emergency at a client's house?
I'm sitting in front of you right now.
All right. Okay, so within 12 hours, we can...
Turnaround time is relatively quick. A lot of times what the public would constitute an emergency really isn't.
Really?
It can be minimalized.
Okay.
And we can walk you through that on the phone. So somebody would call up and say, "Hey, I have water shooting out of here. And do you know where the main is?" No, I don't. We can also walk you through that. So, you know, we can help.
Right.
Even if we can't get on site within 30 minutes.
Most of what I mean, that was the easiest fix.
Anybody who owns a home should know where the water main is located in the event any trade should need it, not just isolated to plumbing.
Right.
And that's a great point for us as realtors, is that as we kind of go through a home, and we typically point that out to our clients, but those are one of the things that, like, shut off switch for the air conditioning system, shut off for the heating system.
Right.
And more importantly than both of them is obviously the shut off for the main.
For the main and also for the hot water source as well.
So, but yeah, so in terms of time frame, so typically, again, nothing's an extreme emergency, but you turn around time 24, 48 hours, you try to...
Oh, within 24 hours is guaranteed. Typically, we can do a same-day service as well.
And like you're saying, if the homeowners know where their main is, they can shut that off. And then basically they're eliminating probably 90% of the problem.
Right. So, you know, the hot water heaters, I may deal with 150 hot water heaters in a year, where a homeowner is only dealing with one. So what they believe is an emergency is one to them. but a lot of times we're able to kind of cool them down and mitigate the steam and relax them and say, you know, we could have somebody there between 4 and 6:30 this afternoon, and it's okay now.
All right. So I like that. So going back to our typical client customer, what are some things that they should know about when they're coming in to look at homes? We're taking them through. Are there any red flags that we should be looking for?
Well, yes. If it looks wrong, it is wrong.
Okay.
I have to say that because if you look at plumbing and you just look up and you see plumbing, it's probably been installed correctly and maintained. When you see patchwork done, rust build up, tape on something,
Okay.
if it looks wrong, odds are it's probably wrong. The next thing I would definitely advise is, are you buying a house from a real handyman?
Mm-hmm.
And again, you know, if it looks wrong, it probably is wrong. Plumbing really has a mathematical theory to it. It's just ran pretty straight.
Okay.
Well, I shouldn't say straight because it's got to leave. So it does have a pitch, but everything looks very uniformed. So that's one thing I would definitely say. Um, Another thing would be if you see coat hangers hanging on plumbing, you probably have you're probably buying the home from somebody who's neglected their plumbing because they're using that as a closet rack.
Got it.
And I see that a lot. Yeah. And in all my years, 35 years of doing plumbing, when you see hangers hanging on plumbing and then you speak to the client themselves, they have a total neglect for plumbing.
I think I have to say, yeah, I think most of us do. I know,
Absolutely.
I don't even look at it until there's a problem.
Nobody does, but we all know there's an engine underneath the hood of a car as well.
That's right. Yeah. And we take care of that.
Right.
So let's talk about maintenance for
Okay.
these.
So maintenance, I say any good service technician who's going to set themselves apart from a regular technician is going to give you an evaluation of all your plumbing on one service call. So a lot of people will come in and let's just say they're going to fix a toilet, a water closet. And they say, well, where's that located? It's in the master bedroom. And okay, great. It's all fixed. It's going to be X amount of dollars. Have a good day. Goodbye. Well, how many other toilets do you have in the house? Now, typically, I would say most houses have a minimum of 2 other toilets in it. Well, how old are they? Let's take a look at those today. And that's all part of a good service call.
Okay.
So you can umbrella all your maintenance into one service call. So a lot of times when I was in the field doing a service call, the first thing I would do is ask the homeowner, do you know where the main valve is? To reiterate back to where we were.
Right.
Homeowner would say, no, I don't. Great, let me show you. And now we're at the main valve. Now, do you know where to shut off your hot water sources? No, I don't. Great, let me show you. So now we're having a discussion, and I'm actually giving them a visual evaluation, which falls underneath maintenance in itself.
Right.
And then I say, well, the office indicates you have a broken water closet in the master bedroom. We'll take care of that today. How many other water closets do you have in the house? I have 2 others. Well, we're going to check those out as well today. And you're really kind of looking at everything at that point. And it's not an upsell. My theory is a lot different than that. So if you went to an eye doctor one day and the guy puts drops in your eyes, he says, all right, great, you're in good shape, I'll talk to you. And later on that night, you suffered a catastrophic heart attack and you wound up in the hospital, God forbid. The next day you're in the hospital and the bills are piling up. A month later, you're still in the hospital and the bills are piling up. And the eye doctor looks at you and he goes, hey, what's going on? And you say to the eye doctor, I had a massive heart attack right after I saw you. And he goes, yeah, I know. You didn't look good at all. You were sweating you. When you say to the eye doctor, you think he should have said something?
Absolutely.
So you expect something from a professional.
You're right.
Your plumbing technician should be a professional. And an evaluation of all the components and all the aspects of your plumbing should be done within a service call. Now, you can also sign up for yearly memberships and stuff like that where they will come out and check your equipment and so forth. There are a lot of different packages
I
available.
didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. So good to know.
So,
Good stuff.
Really is.
You're making me think as you go through even, selling residential real estate, the importance of tagging all those valves. Because most of the times those valves are never tagged.
the main valve,
Was never
and the hot water heater source. Another good valve is the for the outside hose spigots. So a lot of people have a frost-free outside hose spigot,
And they typically not.
and if you don't take the hose off of them, the water's trapped internally. It freezes. It lets go. It lets go. It does let go, and it will let go inside the home.
Okay.
So the hoses have to come off. Truth be told, I have 4 frost-free hose bibs on my house. I just shut them all off in the wintertime anyway. I mean, I'm not out washing my car.
You still have to show them so these are.
I do. Yeah, I do. It's not a, yeah,
Because most people don't have that mindset.
they don't. So it's just something that you should, you're gonna cover your air conditioning, your condensing units. You're gonna cover those. Just you're gonna shut off the hose bibs as well. And it's all part of a seasonally closing and opening. The summer's approaching us. I just looked out this morning as I had my coffee. I was like, all right, so we're gonna start getting the patio furniture. We're gonna get the pool going. These are our chores as adults, right? Yeah, I'd rather just keep my room clean and be a kid.
But that is a good idea to shut those valves off.
It is. Nobody's really using them. And if you need to leave one on, but you have to take that hose off or else you will be the cause of the problem.
Those stuff. Yeah. It's even 20 years doing this. As you're talking, I'm thinking how to make things better because most homeowners today have no clue.
Right.
Where that water main is, no clue.
And it's all just in your programming. As the generations have gone on, I feel that we've allowed the mechanicals and maintenance of a home to slip. Back to a car, we all know at some point, well, I'm going to need brakes, and this is when I get my oil changed, and these are when I need wipers.
Right.
Well, not nobody, but the average person is programmed not to wait until their car explodes and go, I should have put oil in it one day. So it's in your programming.
Visionary.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, I think another question that I have, because of the new construction that we're involved in, a lot of people will come to us with sort of horror stories about maybe people who have done a flip and plumbing in their current home isn't what it should be. So I know that we talked about red flags, but what can people do if they are looking at a flip or they're looking at, a home that
So if they're looking at a flip in itself to purchase,
does?
I would definitely go back to my earlier statement. If it looks wrong, it is wrong. I have seen a lot of flips in my day. Tile seams are off, counters look misaligned. So that's the outside of the presentation. Can you imagine what they're hiding from you?
Right.
Inside. Walk. Honestly, if things all look crooked and door seams are off, and just walk.
Yeah.
Honestly, just walk. I mean, buyer beware.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to buy a 3-bedroom house in Smithtown for $1,200, I think you might be buying a problem.
You're right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So it's going to be
even inspectors have the ability to inspect, but they don't have the ability to, like you said, see what's inside the walls.
They don't. And, as good as I happen to know a lot of home inspectors, as good as a lot of them are, they don't have expertise in every field. They have general knowledge. And that's all that's required of them at that point.
That's right.
Right.
Okay. So, yeah, that is great stuff. Are there any other maintenance tips that you have for homeowners?
Maintenance tips. Yeah, I would keep notes. Again, I'll go back to an automobile. If you're buying a used car and somebody opens up a glove box and they have records of everything they did, and you're kind of saying to yourself, wow, I'm buying a car off somebody who loved this car.
That's right.
Who took care of this car. I'm probably buying a headache-free car. Make yourself a laundry list of things that need to be done in the home.
Right.
Especially digital. Like we all have phones nowadays. Make yourself a laundry list. And in the spring, these are the things I do to basically open my home. And in the winter, these are the things I do to close my home. And don't wait for a problem to hit. Everything in your home, plumbing, fixtures, appliances, they all have a life expectancy. So somebody thinks a hot water heater is going to last them an entire lifetime. I'm here to tell you, not going to happen. It will not happen. It's going to need maintenance and or replacement. and do it on your time, it's a lot cheaper to do it on your schedule than the appliance's schedule. Because when that water heater lets go, it can be catastrophic.
You must have seen some amazing.
Right?
I've been almost hip deep in water. It's unreal. It's unreal.
If that hot water heater goes, that pump's just pumping water nonstop.
Absolutely. Another thing, people go on vacation when they have baseboard heat and they put the heat down to 55 degrees. Baseboard freezes when that lets go and it thaws out. I've seen it freeze on the second floor and just destroy homes. Everybody wants. We all live on a budget.
Right. We want to save money.
Nobody's printing money. We all live on a budget. Turn the heat up, leave it at 62, leave it at 60. 55 is not going to satisfy it.
Well, it's also that maybe people don't realize.
They don't. And I get it. And that's all in our programming of maintaining our home. I feel like it's almost kind of starting to lose its art.
Yeah, no, it sounds like this. But I'm glad we're educating people, and I'm certainly educating myself.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're educating you.
Well, we thank you for coming in. I don't know if there are any.
I got way more. Let's do it.
Oh, let's do it. Yeah, let's see it. What else you want to tell the world about homeownership, buyers, sellers? Looking to.
I would probably touch that a little bit. Like oil tanks or anything in that line, like some points because we do a lot of residential resales as well. So sometimes oil tanks are in the
Oh yeah.
they're
In the ground. Oh, in the garage?
a lot of times they're in the basement, and a lot of times they're in the ground.
Right.
Case in point, oil tanks in the ground. Recommendations.
Okay. If you're buying a home that previously had an oil tank in the ground and it has been abandoned, you want it abandoned a proper way by a good company. That's not work that we do. I do work with companies that do it, and they actually give you a satellite setting on that oil tank's abandonment. So it doesn't get filled with sand, it gets filled with foam,
Okay.
and it's actually certified abandoned. They test the tanks to make sure that the tank is not already breached before they fill it. So if you buy a home, you want an abandoned certificate.
Right. And if it doesn't have one,
Certificate.
And if it doesn't have a certificate,
You could have issues. If you have, you could have big issues if you have oil in the ground. I think we all know.
right.
Yeah. Then you have agencies coming in
the
and
DC and everybody else.
you have problems.
So it's better for a homeowner to take care of that before listing their house.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
You gotta
Yeah. Absolutely.
and we try to.
Good advice.
It is a good
Right.
recommendation. Get rid of the oil tank.
Yeah. And as far as oil heat, when you have oil heat maintenance every year, and you should do that very early fall, just mark your calendar,
So like when you say maintenance, you mean like of oil filters and
filter nozzle screen. You want the chamber opened. You want the baffles all scraped out because the scale builds up on the baffles and you lose the transfer of flame to heat.
within the
So,
people.
correct. You want it vacked out, and then you also want a combustion test. So, again, depending upon the product you buy to have it maintenance, we'll just call it $1. To have it maintained properly would be $2. Don't opt into the cheaper one because if you get a puff back, again, you have a big problem in the home.
And again, just go through a nozzle.
Filter nozzle screen. You want the electrodes tested. You want the transformer tested. You want it opened up, scraped, vacuumed, and you have to have a combustion test done.
And obviously that's all things you guys do.
You have to, yeah.
How often would you suggest having the chimney cleaned out? Because I've had homeowners do it religiously every year.
So if you have your boiler maintained in the process I just told you, you could do it less frequently.
What's every
Once every 2 years, 3 years, when you have your boiler maintenance with the steps I just recommended, any professional is actually going to check the chimney at that point, because they have to take the flue apart to do the project that we're discussing. So they just throw a mirror and a light in there, and they will come to you and they'll say, "Hey, Paul, it's probably time."
And then obviously, then from the chimney being cleaned and to the liner being replaced, how often do you see that?
To replace a liner?
Yeah. And mind you, it's the line is inside the chimney.
The liner's inside the chimney. We don't typically find a lot of need to do a liner unless we're doing an oil to gas conversion. Typically, those chimneys really, especially the older ones, they're built real well. It's built like a rock.
You have an oil burner, then you have that chimney.
Yes.
Okay. And you pull your oil company to come and do this cleaning.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to go call Solon's right now. I could
631 516 922 7000, I think.
Wow.
Do they sell you the oil?
They do.
They do.
Yeah, we don't talk about this stuff, though. We kind of know it in the back of our heads and we put it off.
We're becoming deprogrammed as a society to maintain our homes. You know, homeowners going to buy a home and not say to themselves, "Well, this is my forever home. I'll never need a roof." You're going to need a roof one day.
Right. Yeah. That'd be awesome. So I think a great idea would be we could put this in a non, but have work come in, go through a single family home that we're selling, pull apart the house for all of us, and because like everything we talked about, taking the water main, taking the hot water heater, and pointing out certain things to, because even homeowners today that own the home for 50 years. So I've been at home with people where legitimately they sheetrock the basement is the best. They sheetrock the basement.
Oh, God.
Right? They sheetrock the basement. And I'm like, where's the water main? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, in the 20 years you've been here, never touched it? Like, no. Like, then your mind starts rattling.
Or they build a closet around their boiler or their hot water heater, and the door's this big and the hot water heater's this big. That's what I'm saying. People just think that those components are going to last forever. I'm here to tell you.
I mean, how many times you go into a basement, somebody finishes the basement, and they completely rocked them out of the oil tank, right?
Absolutely.
Now you got to cut that thing in half, and there's no way you're going to fit that thing out. Like,
and the first thing they ask is, "Oh, you have to open the wall." I'm like, "That's what you worried about?" I'm like, priorities, you know.
Yeah, the oil dripping out of the bottom of the oil tank. Yes, we're going to have rip out down the wall.
Right. So
lucky to have to rip out the concrete in the basement.
It's like buying tires, rims, and getting a paint job on a car that just won't start.
Right.
Right. Oh, listen, I mean, this has been like, again, after 20 years of doing this, you got my mind thinking.
Okay.
I do appreciate it.
You could put me on staff full time. I need $5,500 a week, and I'll give you the best 22 hours a week you'll ever get.
I like that. That's a great idea.
I'll be the first one here a smidge after 9 and the first one to leave around 1.
So, if you can, please tell the public how they reach you.
631, call Rob. It's that simple.
Really?
631, call Rob. Yeah. And he'll get me on the phone personally. No. You get me on the phone personally.
I like, what's the numbers?
It's 631 615 9184.
And Rob is absolutely, he's a lot of fun. He said he's been around us for many, many years. So if you need an outstanding plumbing, you call Robert Outstanding. We hope that you like, subscribe, comment on this, and we hope to see you at the next one. It's all right.
And
Oh, good. So helpful.
yeah, so if Scorsese, if you've seen this, yes, I'll be in your next film, and I'm willing to do partial nudity.